talk about John Herdman, and we're going to talk a little TFC before the end of the show, because Gareth Wheeler, he is preparing for his first game on the sidelines, which I think a lot of people have been waiting to see. Sorry, touchlines before you fill my Twitter mentions up. But he spoke about what this was going to be and the 3 to 4 month process to shift the mentality. But he was specifically asked about the Italians. And this is from Neil Davidson with the Canadian Press. John said to him, they have a next level quality, saying it's a privilege to work with players of that class and caliber, but they're frustrated. Adding that he's seen a steeliness in their meetings. They've contributed. They've not sat back. But what I want to do, says Herdman, is convince them that there is a new future here. And with their ability and their experiences, they can create that new future. What did you make of the comments here, Wheels? Do you think that this is sincerity from John, or do you think this is maybe a little bit of politics and high road, not knowing what their contract status would be if they could be moved, even if you wanted them to be?
I'm actually surprised people are making a big deal about comments like this, because what the heck else was Herdman supposed to say? He has 2 misfit players who are being massive underachievers. And yes, they're frustrated figures, but I don't think that even comes close to the frustration that TFC fans and staff and anyone that's watched this team over the last year and a half have with them. Like, there's no way he can go forward with these 2 players. And perhaps this may signal the fact that Toronto FC are reluctant to, take a significant loss on both of these players just to send them away and find them a new home. Perhaps that shows the reluctance to the players to leave what is a good situation, getting paid a lot of money in a great city like Toronto. Perhaps they don't want to leave. It might be a problem where John has realized, I need to work with these players because we can't get rid of them. But there's no way in an ideal scenario he would choose to work with these 2 over his choice of 2 other players that can come in and fill all important designated player roles. Just like the on-field, the off-field commitment or lack thereof of these players have frustrated other players in the TFC team. There's no way that this could be sincere, that it's like his number 1 game plan to move forward with these 2. It can't be. If not, then perhaps the observation from afar, he hasn't been close enough, because there's just simply no way that these 2 players can stay here in any kind of ideal situation. By the way, sorry, just really, they don't even play well with one another on the field when they are on the field.
They really don't.
And especially if Herdman was depressed and have players committed to defending, it's one of the many problems that Herdman's facing right now, but perhaps these are problems he just can't get rid of.
Ollie, your thoughts?
I saw a clip of Insigne scoring that goal against, I think it was Belgium, on Twitter the other day. And I was watching it why don't they do, and I know I'm not saying why doesn't he do that for TFC? Why don't TFC use him in a more similar way to what I saw in that short clip? Like he was basically positioned like inside the field, kind of in line with the left side of the center circle, cuts onto his right foot and bends one into the top corner. When I watch him with TFC, he's strolling around out on the touchline. Like, I don't know what he's doing out there and what they're expecting to get from him out there. But anyway, like I've said on this before, I think they're crazy if they're not doing everything in their power to try and move these 2 players in the offseason. The head coach cannot say that out loud. And I don't think he can even take the job if he's not prepared for the possibility that he might have one or both of them on his roster next season, and he needs to try and make it work. That is not going to be plan A. It cannot be plan A for Toronto FC based on what we've seen over the past 18 months.
I got a bit of time, so I'm going to bounce this back to you, Ollie, put you on the spot a little bit, because I want to frame this question differently than it's been asked in the past, and that is it weird that John Herdman's not on the touchlines yet? We're done with that. He's going to be on this final match of the season. But do you think part of this is John saying, okay, if I'm going to have a lot of this team, some of these players we've just spoken of at length, I need to see with my eyes a week of training that I've led, I've executed on the touchline to see if we can find some common ground, put up or shut up for one final game?
Personally, I don't think so because I don't read anything into this game. I think it's really easy to be motivated for 1 week. We've seen it a couple of times over the course of Insigne and Bernardeschi's time here, where something or the other kind of provokes them to try for a game or two. Sustaining it over 34 games over a full season is a completely different thing, and that's what you have to have a read on. So trying to impress a new manager when you have 1 game to play, 1 week or 2 weeks of training through this international break, that doesn't do anything for me. Like they've got to believe that these guys can do it over the longer term.
Yeah. Gareth, do you think there's something he wants to see out of them, or what do you think is he really looking for? If you could look into your crystal ball for a minute from this game, is there anything?
I don't know if it matters. You want the fans who are in that stadium to go home with a smile on their face after the last day and see Herdman maybe dig in and get something more from this group that makes you think, you know what, he is the guy that can turn things around. But in terms of these two players, Insigne on the field would help. Like that would be a big help. A player that I don't know what he's been hurt with, and there's been various. Anyways, John is a master motivator. I wish him nothing but the best. But these two players have had top managers at Juventus, at Napoli, other places. Can Herdman tap into something that brings about a change out of these players? If he does, my word, it would be quite the accomplishment here, because it doesn't look like there's nothing this weekend that can show that there should be a future for them at the club other than the contracts that they've signed.